About Gemara. This is the Gemara for Shabbos. Now the Gemara will have a discussion, yesh aim lemikra or yesh aim lemesedus. When it's written one way and we read it another way, which is the main way for us to learn halachas from? They're both obviously Moshe Messina. So Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, so we just said that the machlekes Rebbe Cham is, Rebbe says you look at the mikra, yashiun, and the Chama say, no, you look at the way it's written, yashian, so therefore it's singular. And therefore the machlekes, the outcome is how many judges you need, 5 or 3. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak said, name Rabbi Yechanan, Rebbe, and Rabbi Yehuda ben Rayet, and Beis Shammai, and Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Akiva, Kulas, they all follow the opinion that yesh aim lemikra. You look at the way it's read, not the way it's written. Rebbe Hodamna, we just said, yashiun, even though it's written yashian. But Rabbi Yehuda ben Rayet, what's this Rabbi Yehuda ben Rayet? Time we know that if a woman gives birth to a boy, the first 7 days is tummy, then 33 days, any blood she sees is tired. By a girl, the first 14 days is tummy, and the next six days is tired. Now, the Torah says shvuayim, but you can read it shivim. It's written as if it's shivim, but it's written shivim 70, but we read it shvuayim 2 weeks. So the question is, so Shaul, they asked Rabbi Yehuda ben Rayet, it's the Tamid Rabbi Yehuda ben Rayet, ekrani shivim, maybe it's supposed to be red shivim as well, 70. Yochel, I would have thought. So he said to them, "Hey, you lend the cable to Shivim. You would to Shivim. You would think that she should be tummy 70 days, not 14 days." And he said to them, "I'll tell you how we know. They both have the same thing. Look at the Yimei Tahara, 33, 66. So what do we see? That a girl is double by a boy. And since by a boy we know it's 1 week that he is tummy, 7 days. So by a girl, how long the blood is tummy? 14. That's how we know you're supposed to read it shvuayim rather than shivim. So how do we know from the Mikra side? See in a minute. Ma kishatim bezach with the cave can fly double. Akishim bezach the cave can fly double. Also, when it comes to tummy, it's double. La'achash yotzu, after they walked out of class, yotzu machzeh, he ran after them. He said, Amal, and he said to him, you don't even need that whole pulpit. You don't need what I just said. Shvuayim korinon. We look at the Mikra. How do we read it? Tradition says you read it shvuayim 2 weeks, even though it's written shivim. So we see that he also holds you follow yesh aim the Mikra. There's a Rif who asked the question, and for the life of me, I can't remember what he answers. Why is it he wants to know? We call it aim the Mikra, aim the Messiah, the mother of the Mikra, the mother of the Messiah. And when it comes to a binyan av, they would call it a father. When is it a mother? When is it a father? And I don't know if he answered, someone else answered it. An ab is more distant than a mother. So a binyan ab is from one place to another place. So that's an ab, more distant from each other. And yesh ein lemikra is this very word. How do we translate? So therefore we put it in mother. What's this Maisa B'Shamai? Now we learn Beishamai says Kol Anitnam is Be'achitz, and the outside is Be'ach. You have to sprinkle the blood. Some of them you sprinkle on the corners, and they become like 4. You spray on 2 different corners, and they splash out, and so 4 different sides. Some you have to do on all 4 sides. By Karmachatas, you have to do it on all 4 sides. So Beishamai says Kol Anitnam is Be'achitz and Shenitnam Atana Achas. If he did it, he's supposed to do 2, and he did only 1. By coming oilish ocean all that, chip is good enough, but. But when it comes to chat, you need 4, but the Evid, if you did 2, it's good enough. Basil says, even 1's good enough. And what's going on here? Abuna said, my time to the Bishami. Why Bishami said you need a minimum of 2? I'll tell you what. It says in the Pasuk, you should spray it, you take them down, spray it out, the first one is above. Then it says another pasuk the kohen should take the blood and put it on kan noish with the outer. And then it says another pasuk he takes the zamachatas. Each one's different carbon chatas, but all chatas are kind of thing again written with outer. But if you look at the creed, they're all written in plural. Harikan sheish. There's a total of 6. Arba lemitzvah, so 4 is a chatchila, there's time lakiv, and 2 is being makiv. You have no choice. There's a Yosef Engel. The Makiva Egan getting a shas in the Shabbos in the noon somewhere. We go through all these different psukim that the Gemara talks about letters that in our Torah doesn't have. In our Torah, we have no vavs in any of these kannas. And yet the Gemara is going to make a big deal out of the fact that the first kannas they just said here has a vav in it, and we don't. In our Torah it doesn't. And there he collects a lot of psukim. When the Gemara brings one thing, and our Torah is a little different. And Basil says. Karnas. Basil says you look at the ksiv. 1 is plural, but 2 is singular. Harikar arba. Gimel mitzvah. 3 is for mitzvah, but achaz lakiv. Only 1 of them is being makif. Those one kindness is extra for you what you're supposed to do, and the extra kindness is coming to hold you is ma'akif. So according to Beishamai, kindness we look in the mikra is two, so two sprinkles are ma'akif. According to Hillel, karna we look at the way it's written, karnas only one, so one sprinkle is ma'akif. They makula mitzvah. Maybe all of them is for mitzvah. Kapara, the Chedai even Hillel says you can't just be mechapi if you did no spraying. You have to sprinkle something. What's Rab Shimon? You said the same thing. The time we learn, how do you know how many walls you have to have in a sukkah? 2 and a bit or 3 and a bit. Kind of Stein Gilchas with 2 walls and a sukkah is good enough. The third wall, even if it's a tefach, is good enough. Rab Shimon says Shalosh Gilchas. You need 3 proper walls. Uravi is after tefach, and the 4th one is a tefach. The mic can be forgiven in the Gemara Sukkah. We had a number of explanations. Rabbanan hold yesh aim limisatis. You look at the way it was given down to us, the way it was written. This is the Mercedes, how it should be written in Sefer Torah. That's called Mercedes, the tradition how it's written. And there, and we'll see in a minute. Shimon hold yesh aim lemikra. You look at the way it's read. Rabbanan of yesh aim Mercedes. It says basukas. Twice is written in singular, one plural, so you have a total of 4 walls. Harikan arba dal chad krolugufei. One passing need for itself. And we said before, ein dosh and tchilas, so leaves only 3 walls. And Pashlu class, Asi Hilchasa comes Allah Marsina and Garasul Lishis and reduces the 3rd wall to a tefach. And this is if you learn that you need 3 and Allah Marsina reduces it to 1, that means this tefach is considered a full 3rd wall. Because if we had one opinion there is that you only need 2 walls, and then Allah Marsina came to add a tefach, then the tefach is not considered a full wall, it's only a tefach. But by the reducing, the Chiddush Allah Marsina is not that you don't need a 3rd wall. The Chiddush is that a tefach is considered a whole wall. And not from halacha. We'll come to a tefach, and a tefach enough. And Rab Shimon holds, no, you look at the way it's read. Basukais. That's plural. Harikan sheish, 6 walls. Dol chad karal legufe, one pasuk you can't ignore. Pashla abba 4. Also hichas a gadol levi. Came along, I was saying, made 3 walls in a bit. V'ukmei a tefach. So these are all the opinions that hold you follow the way we read it, not the way it's written. And what's the Rebbe Kiva? We know that we learned tumas oil, and we know there's a revius of blood. You have a limb, whatever it is, or a bone the size of a barley, or a revius of blood. Because it says nefashos, a nefesh is blood. A revius of blood in the oil is metame, everything inside. But what happens if you have a revius between 2 corpses? You need a revius per corpse, or a revius even 2 corpses. Comes on the Kiva and says, "Menayin lerevius dam sheyotze mishnei mesim." That if it's a combination of 2 mason, 1 revius of blood, shematami bars matami shem. It says, "I'll call." It says in the pasuk there, "I'll call nafsheis mace." It says nafsheis mace, and it's written nefashas without a vav, but we read it nafsheis. We go after the way it's read. 2 out of 2, you have 1 bris. Lo yav shtei nefashas b'shir echad, 1 share for 2 nefashas. But rabban nafshas, if it's a singular, therefore you need per corpse. You need a revius down. All of these Tanaim hold yesh aim lemikra, not the way it's written, but the way we read it. Are you tell me there are opinions that say you don't follow the way it's read, it's the way we read it? But Tanya, it says in the passage you shouldn't cook milk. How do we know it's chalev? Because that's a tradition how you're supposed to read it. But the way it's written more in the Torah, mostly it's chalev, fats. So maybe when it means the Torah that says here, if you don't follow the mikra, but you follow the Mercedes most times when it says this word is chayla, fats. So let's read like Savasal Gedi, b'chayla b'may. I don't know, it's chayla b'may. Yachol b'chayla, maybe it's fats. I'm going to say yeshay the mikra, because that's how we're told to read it. So what do we see clearly from here? Everyone agrees that's basa b'chala. You have to follow the mikra. So now the Gemara is going to go through every machlekes quickly, and I'll tell you that everyone agrees yeshay the mikra, but for different reasons, they all argue. All even mikra. So what's going on? Let's go through each one now. How are we going to explain then the machlekes? Rabbanan hold, but they need 3 or 5. But how come it's machlekes? What's the machlekes? It says in the end, Rabbi Saba Yashir and Elakim, that bezin Yashir okay mikra, plural, 2. The 2 judges should punish you. Acharini, this is another 2 judges. Ad Lakim Yavad Vashneim. And then it says, and Yashin Lakim. Yashin Lakim is another 2 judges, and we compare the 2 Lakims. There's 2 and here's 2. And it's an odd number. You need an odd number is 5. And the Rabban hold Yashiyun Deheyech Lahai. You know the plural is you have the Lakim you went to before, and the Lakim you're going to now. That's 2, and then you'll have an odd number, so you have 3. Nothing to do with mikra. Everyone agrees it's plural. But he been raised. Rabban don't argue. Everyone agrees. That's only 2 weeks. Everyone agrees Yashin Mikra there. that she's tummy 2 weeks. Beis Hillel, what about the by korban chatas? The Tanya we learn, it says in Posik, the chipe b'pnei hadin, by the ear of a nasi, and then the different korban chatos, and then of a yachid and a kevis of a yachid, and it says in all three of them it says the chipe in singular b'pnei hadin, the chipe b'pnei hadin. They had to write 3 times the chipe. Nema damim lemata. It says damim below, and nema damim lemaila. It says damim above the line and below the line. It says below by a oif chatas. It says there that you should spray the blood, and there it says kir hamazbech in one wall, and it says by a chatas behema. It says over here damim as well. Is mad damim amudel mata. It's not when it comes to a bird. By a chatas by a bird. Shenitn b'matan achachip. If you do only once, you're mechaper because it says kir hamazbech. The wall is av damim amudel maila. The blood above shenitn b'matan achas keeper. You're mechaper. So therefore, one is enough. Or maybe not. It says damim on the carbon on the mizbeach outside, and it says by the chatas haprimis that the par koyim mashiach, which is on in the mizbeach, and says they're also damim. Ma damim hamurim b'fnim, just like with damim those that sit inside. Chitzer acher, you have to do sheva, we do on your kippur, the 7 sprays. If you're missing any of those sprays, it's no good. So maybe the korban chatas on the outside, you have to do all 4. Chitzer acher, if you don't do all 4, so who should you compare to? Neither lemidayme. Dani we compare chutz mechutz. The ain't done in chutz mifnim. We're going to compare the korban chatas of the behema outside, the korban chatas of outside, rather than comparing a korban chatas outside from a korban chatas inside. Maybe not so. Maybe chatas v'dala kronos or mechatas v'dala kronos. Maybe you should compare a chatas and the 4 corners from a chatas and the 4 corners, which is the korban chatas, which is on the inner mizbeach, just like the korban chatas on the outer mizbeach. V'al yechiach zeh, and don't bring a proof she'ain chatas v'dala kronos. Well, you don't have a chatas and like a korban oshim, which is not called a chatas at all, and Itaka doesn't say there karnas. Karnas is corners. There it says saviv. That's why we know you just sprinkle in the corner and it spreads to 2 sides is good enough. Like a korban chatas, you got to do it in every single corner. It says in the pasuk it says 3 times. The first is you should do it even though you only did 3 instead of the 4. It's still a kapara. Then keep it. Then says again the chipper tell you that okay, at least 3. But the average didn't do 3, you did 2, it's good enough. And then says the third chipper, even though you should have done 2, you didn't do 2, at least you did 1. As long as you did 1, it's good enough. Nothing to do with Yeshain Lemikra, Yeshain Lemesaitis. But Rav Shimon Rabbanan Basuk is obligate. Rav Shimon holds Chachal Le'Bayikra. It says over there, let's say we go after the Mikra. You go after the Mikra. Rav Shimon holds, the Chacham hold you need a pasuk for Schach, and therefore the first 2 don't count at all. All you have left is the next 2, and therefore they reduce it down to 2 walls and a tefach. But Rabban Sabri is Chachal Bayikra. Rabban hold you that Schach needs a pasuk, and that's what the machlekes is. And so everyone agrees Yeshain Lemikra. Because according to Chacham, if you take away 1 basukas, as Asukas Teisha would say, he said we need it just to add some minion to sit in the sukkah. That leaves you only twice sukkahs, which is 4 walls. And Allah Mashiach takes it down to and therefore you bring it down to 3 walls, and then and the Allah Mashiach brings it down to 2 walls and tefach. Then the Gemara continues, and the last machlekes we have is Shimon Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. But Rabbi Akiva Rabban B'Hapli. Rabbi Akiva Rabban argue the following. No, the first chacha we don't count at all. Leaves you 4 walls. According to Chachamim, one of those walls chachs you need for itself. It leaves you 3 walls. And Allah Mashiach brings out 2 and a tefach. Rabbi Shimon says you don't need anything for itself. The first chach we don't learn from. It's only the 2 other chachas. Rabbi Shimon holds you don't need anything for itself. You don't need a pasuk for schach. You don't say that 1 is for schach. Say 1 is for schach. Leaves you 3. So we have 2 sukkahs is plural. That leaves you 4 walls. First time it says sukkahs, we don't learn from it anything. So it leaves you 4 walls. But 1 is for the schach. That leaves you 3 walls. And comes Rav Shimon and reduces to a tefach. Rav Shimon says schach doesn't need a pasuk. That's what the whole thing is schach. Al Shem, as the first Rashi in Sukkah, Al Shem Chach called a Sukkah. That's what it is. So therefore, that's why it's called Sukkah. So you don't even have to learn from it. So it leaves you 4 walls. Comes Allah Meshuvah and reduces one of them to a tefach. And what's the story about Rabbi Kiva? Rabbi Kiva holds nefashas taki mashma. It says I call them. It says nefashas. We read nefashas. It means two nefashas. Rabban Savi nefashas alma doesn't mean two corpses inside one oil. It means generally corpses around the world. The dam that exudes from them is tamei. And we'll stop over here. We'll continue. Actually, we'll continue tomorrow.